So if a full backstep restores Mr. Parker, then the next question is obvious. What exactly is being restored? Because by this point, it starts to feel like recharge is too simple, too mechanical, too much like he's just a battery getting filled back up. And I don't think that's really what's happening. Because if the smaller rewinds come back stronger after a full 7-day backstep, then something is being renewed in him every time he passes through that system. Not just the symptom, not just the sensation, something deeper than that. Maybe at first, the easiest explanation would be side effects, residue exposure, some kind of after effect from repeated contact with the element. But the more this starts to follow rules, the less that explanation feels big enough. Because side effects don't usually come back cleaner, stronger, more complete. They don't usually drain with use and restore with re-exposure in patterns this precise. At that point, this stops sounding like recovery and starts sounding like retention. So maybe Parker isn't just experiencing something left over from the jump. Maybe he's storing something. Not the full power of the element, not enough to replace it, but enough that every time he goes through a backstep, he carries some fraction of that process with him afterward. A small imprint, a temporary charge, maybe even some kind of a temporal pattern that stays with him after the jump is over. And that would explain a lot. Why the effect weakens when he uses it, why it comes back after a full backstep, why the time burps stopped feeling random and started feeling like a smaller version of the same system. And maybe this is where the effect starts stretching, not just repeating a few seconds anymore. Maybe now, under the right conditions, Parker starts slipping back far enough to redo more than just a moment. Not much, not yet, but enough to feel like it's growing. Because if Parker is carrying part of that process inside him, then the mini backsteps are not some separate ability at all. They're a leftover expression of the real thing, a smaller human scale echo of the larger backstep system. And once you start looking at it that way, the next question gets even bigger. Because if Parker has been carrying part of the effect with him after every jump, then sooner or later you have to ask whether it only moves in one direction.